Hey guys, Mozzie Rob here again. Okay, today's project's on my 2007 Cadillac XLR Supercharged V. Very lovely car, love it, a lot of compliments. And today, I noticed my rear shocks were leaking some oil, so we're going to be replacing the rear shocks. So first thing we want to do here is, of course, if you get the car jacked up, make sure you got your safety precautions down there with your jack stands underneath the cross member. And we have our jack that we're going to be using. You can see I already did one side, so I'm going to show you how to do the other side right now. The tools you will need for the job. A couple pry bars just to help you maneuver the shock out. Right here is a 15/16 socket and a 15/16 impact socket that I'm going to use for the bottom bolt. And a couple of screwdrivers to help with the clip for the performance stability sensor that's on top of the shock that has to get removed. A small screwdriver to remove the clip, which I'll show a bit later. An impact, of course, to help get the wheel lugs off, 19 millimeter, and 11/16 wrench right here for the, you guys always want to make sure the top of the shock is tight, because I did the one side and it seemed like it was a little loose, and I found out that one nut was loose. So, and of course, maybe a little extension, half extension to help you get to the parts for the upper shock bolts, and we'll get started. So let's get this wheel off and we'll take a look and see how it's done. Stay tuned. Okay, now that we got the tire off, just going to show you some of the bolts. We have two bolts here, and they were a 1/2 inch size for the top, and you really can't see it, but there is a little protective wire here that goes onto the top of this thing, and that's where that stability sensor is at, that we have to take off once we get the shock actually removed. And you got to be careful because you don't want to damage the harness or the clips as you're removing it. You can see the oil leaking down here. And down here, that is where our 15/16 bolt and nut is on the other side that we're going to remove. And the pry bars that I got is just help me, because I'm an old man, to lift up under the shock here to pull this thing up. And of course, I'm going to be putting the jack here as well to help support and help maneuver that lower control arm, so I can manipulate that bolt out once I get everything loose. So those are our 3 bolts we got to get out. So let's get them out and we'll get this thing exchanged. Okay, one other thing I just wanted to show you, which is always a good idea because it gives you more flexibility when you're dealing with that stability control sensor to remove the connection. There's a little clip right here. Just give a little wiggle, and that will pop out, and that will give you plenty of play when you drop the shock out to remove the connecting harnesses that is on top of the shock. Okay, so wanted to mention that before we carry on. All right, let's get the shock out. Okay, you can see I got both top bolts out, and like I mentioned earlier, I got the wiring loose, and with my impact gun with the 15/16, I loosen up the bolt, and let's put it on the lower control arm. You can see I got my jack putting some upward pressure on there. Oh, excuse the fingers. And this right here should then just slide right out since there's no tension on it. And now we're ready to get our pry bars, just to put a little pressure here to get it off this rubber bushing, and then we'll be able to, with our hands, be able to push this thing up to retract it, and then it's going to just drop right out. Stand by. Okay, so I got the shock dropped out, but like I said, here is the wiring harness that clips on to the top of the shock absorber for your stability to control. And so what I'm going to do here is use my screwdriver and lift off these tabs and just disconnect the connecting from the wiring harness. And then once I get the shock out, I'll show you how to remove this part. It's just a simple clip to remove this harness from the top of the shock. So you just want to be careful that you don't break your tabs as you're doing it, but there's one on this side and there's one on the other side, which I can't show you. Just give a little screwdriver, lift up a little bit, and that pops right out. Okay, so we have this on the workbench here, just so I can show you this connection harness here. So there's a little clip. This thing does turn freely, but it's like a little U-clip. And basically, I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Hopefully I can do it without screwing up the picture too much, but I'm going to get my little screwdriver and just lift this one little tab up right here. Okay, that's up and out. And then I'm going to go to the other side. Oops, it fell back down. Let's go to the other side. Lift that up and out the same way, right here. And that pulls out. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to stop just so I can pull this connector off. Okay, so with this U-clip off now, you should be able to just go here, just give a little light little twist, and it should pop right off the top. And then we're going to use this to install on the new shock absorber. Stand by. Okay, so this is the new shock absorber we're going to be putting on. So basically, like any other shock, you want to pretty much prime it before you install it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it down on the bottom first, and I'm going to press down on this and let it release by itself at least 10 times to prime it. So I'm going to turn my camera off here, and then I'll let everything know when I get done priming. See how slowly retracting? You want to do this 10 times. Make sure you get any gas throughout the chambers out and equalized. Okay, so before we start putting all this back together, one thing to make sure, 11/16 wrench, you want to make sure that this top nut is tight because the shocks that I got, they were loose, and this protective boot, everything was kind of really loose when I got the shock installed. So I took it out and retightened this up, and everything is fine. But right now, you want to make sure this right here is snug and tight before we start putting all this assembly back on. So we'll do that, and then we'll start getting the shock reinstalled. Stand by. Okay, as mentioned, with the stability control sensor connector, just one of these just presses right back on there. You get it past the groove, and then this clip should just push right in. You hear it click, and you're good to go. All right, time to get this puppy installed. All right, folks, job completed. New shock is on. Top bolts are on. And make sure that you put this little clip back on here to hold that wiring in place so it doesn't get, worn out from vibration from the movement of the car. Our bottom bolt is installed, and you can see I used the jack to lift up the lower control arm to line it up, and it just pushed right in very easily, and just burped it a few times with my impact gun, and this job is done. So before we put the tire on, I'm going to give a little lubricant here. I'm going to grease my little tie rod end over here, and put some grease over here and over here on this sway bar link. Since I got everything off, I'll do some maintenance there as well, but this job is done. Okay, one more final and important step. One tool I forgot to mention. Torque wrench. Make sure your lug nuts are torqued to about 100 foot-pounds, and that should do it. We're gonna go take it for a ride, see how it rides. I'm sure it's gonna ride fine. And the shocks that I actually got them off eBay. Believe it or not, I got both sets, left and right side, for like $175. I know if you go to Cadillac dealer, they want probably close to $300 for the set. So do some shopping around. You can find some deals, but very pleased. And I'd say it was probably about 40 minutes per side to do. So hope you enjoyed the video. Like it if you wish. Have a blessed day. And thanks again for watching my channel.